This is the Randomer Nintendo podcast for August 28th, 2022. I am your host for the first time in this podcast history, Kevin. To my virtual left is Jason.
Hello.
And to my virtual right, as always, no, not as always, because the first time that I ever do this is Angel.
Wait, you do this all the time. What are you talking about? You always do the virtual left, virtual right.
When you let the other man, there we go. You let the man introduce himself before you so rudely interrupt.
Sorry, I was just like, no, this is the norm for you. Sorry.
Yes, but that was a podcast that we did a long time ago.
You're right. It was many months, weeks. Yeah, fair. Okay. Yeah.
Fortnights ago?
For many moons.
Many moons? How are you guys doing?
I'm good.
Okay, fine.
What?
Oh, okay, fine. No one wants to talk.
I said I'm good. What a rocky start we're having.
Not everybody get up at once.
Oh, I'm doing great, Kevin. Thank you.
Yeah. So, are you just feeling like nothing then, Angel?
Yeah, just very neutral. Very neutral.
Could it be what? We're recording this at 8 in the morning, or at this point, it's already 8:30. When are you not so neutral?
Like around 3 p.m. I would say so. That's when my mood is very decisive. Like, you will never see me neutral at 3 p.m. ever.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's a really bold statement.
At that point, are you chipper or are you on the downswing?
Oh no, it's only upswing from the beginning. It only goes neutral to upswing. There was never a dour moment.
At 3 p.m.
Seriously, the whole day. You're saying when you're tired, like 11 at night, you're still on an upswing.
Yeah, you kind of peak at 3 p.m. and then just kind of like you ride that wave until you go to sleep and you just wake up neutral. So it's like neutral till 3 p.m. Well, at 3 p.m. it already reaches peak and then it just stays at that peak until
it plateaus. You plateau.
Yeah.
This seems to imply you never get tired.
No, of course not.
Cap.
Okay. Yeah, that's not human. You're not a human. just saying, you're some other being.
You mean
clearly.
You actually get tired? Like, I mean, you just decide, yeah, I'm gonna go to sleep. That feels like that could be fun. Change it up a little.
Do that all the time.
I don't think, like, if I didn't get tired, I don't know if I'd want to just, like, there's times that, like, I want to keep doing things, but I get too tired and have to go to sleep. Like, I'd rather, in those instances, keep doing things. So no, I don't think there's times that I'm like, boy, it sure would be great to just, like, not be conscious. Like, I just tiredness that usually drives that, you know?
Sometimes it's just appealing, or it just sounds appealing, but, yeah, that's probably, like, at most, but, you know, I'm sure maybe you're the exception and everyone just feels that way, but I guess we'll see.
Oh, I'm the exception.
Yeah.
Not you, Mr. I plateau at 3 and never come down. Okay, sure.
That's just how life works.
Okay.
Is that how life works?
I don't think it is. I do not believe so. Maybe it's how his life works.
That's how Angel's life works.
Yeah, that's how my life works. I mean, clearly, I only have the perspective of my life, so, I mean, yeah, that's all I can really say.
This is other people's perspectives. Like,
yeah, you can encompass the viewpoints of others as you learn about them or as you live with them in the case of your family.
I think you're just tired of this conversation. Bringing us back to full circle.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah. All right, what do we want to talk about?
This is the rockiest start.
This is the worst host.
It's because it's 8 a.m. Yeah, but
I did have a. Well, I was going to say I did have a random question.
How appropriate for the randomer.
Just something like
randomer podcast.
He's very on brand.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I've mentioned it in the podcast before, but this year in particular was probably when I've gone through, I would say, like one of the biggest changes as far as like eating habits or just taste. I guess it's literally taste, because I would say, I was one of those people that would always remove the onions from anything that I would eat. like if it came with onions. And if it did accidentally come with onions, I would still remove them anyway, and someone would always take them. But not sure when or how it happened, but at some point this year, I didn't remove the onions, and I tried it, and then I was like, huh, this actually still tastes good. And then I started just keeping the onions on things to the point where now, fast forward like a couple months, and not only do I keep the onions on anything that I order now, given the option, sometimes I'll add onions. And I distinctly remember at one point just really disliking the taste of onions. Obviously, still won't eat like a raw onion, but talking about like tacos and burgers or just things that would have onions. And yeah, I don't know. I just at some point my taste buds just changed, and now I like onions. So I was just kind of curious if either of you have gone through something like that recently, or maybe at all. Like if there was just something that you really disliked, and then suddenly you're like, "Hey, I can jam with this now," or maybe you just suddenly picked up something new. I don't know.
Well,
I can't be the only one to have ever had their taste buds change at some point.
Couple of things. One, I appreciate that you pointed out that when you put the onions on the side, when they accidentally give it to you, they did not go away since someone else ate it. Like, you went out of your way to say that, which is kind of funny. Two, you also mentioned something about jam, and onions actually make an interesting jam combination at a place called Father's Office around here. But three, to answer your question, I think for me, the closest I could think, I don't think I've had something as I don't think I've had as transformative of a food journey as it sounds like you've embarked on. But mushrooms, for me, were something I never used to like. And while I don't necessarily seek them out, I happily eat them now. And in the case of like my Blue Aprons, if there's mushrooms in the dish, or if I'm picking different dishes, the mushrooms don't stop me from swapping in the dish like it would have 5 years ago. So there's mine. Interestingly, you would think the guy who like is obsessed with Nintendo and loves Mario would be into mushrooms. But yeah, no, it's a recent phenomenon for me.
Interesting. So you like them in portobellos now, or you would? I guess you
any
really
mushroom. If it just says mushroom, I couldn't tell you which mushroom's which, as long as it's the edible ones, not the like drug ones. Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah.
Oh, what about you, Kevin?
I'm trying to think, and nothing seems to come to mind. And
You're
like
always
I
always
hate
a pickle man
onions and mushrooms, which I hate
funny.
pickles so much.
What?
I hate pickles.
Oh.
I hate onions.
Wait, what? Okay, hold on. What was that noise?
Onions are good to like,
actually.
cook with.
That's fine as long as you keep ordering the pickles or not taking them away and giving them to me if we ever go.
Yeah,
out
which is pretty much what I always do. Like whenever we go to a place,
you know what? That's cool.
I get a burger. Like, yeah, here, you want any pickles? Yeah, go for it.
I take back my scoffs.
That was a scoff? I thought that was some sort of groan or moan at the word pickle, and I was really confused.
Maybe it was both.
Onions I'm totally fine with to cook with, but like putting them on like food afterwards, like is an absolute no to me. And mushrooms, I don't understand how anybody can like mushrooms.
I didn't either for a long time, and then one day I was just like, oh, okay. So, it's not just like the taste, it's also the texture. Yeah, like even the texture, I used to be like, oh, it's kind of weird. Like, I don't know, like, especially like when they're raw, like it's just like that slime, like it was weird. And now I'm just like, yeah, that's just a mushroom. You eat it, and I'm cool with it. Like, I don't know what changed exactly. So maybe you'll get there one day, Kevin. Maybe it's something like when you turn a certain age, just you embrace mushrooms. Maybe it's an older person food.
I mean, I guess that's what it would be.
You're younger than you.
I know, but maybe that's the turning point.
Wait, did you really say a year younger than us?
You're 4 years.
Yeah, you're 4.
Am I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus, you guys are old.
Exactly. So once you cross that threshold into 30, Kevin,
4 freaking years
danced into your life.
I'm kidding about the whole thing, but I can't. I think my taste buds have always been the same, honestly. I'm a very picky eater. Like, I'll try anything once, but afterwards, like, no, I like I like a known quantity, you know? Like, I'm not adventurous with my food, and like I said, I'll try anything once, but aside from that, there's nothing. I'm gonna hurt myself trying to think of, like...
I'd say sushi, but I don't really think that counts because that's just more like I never really wanted to try it because it didn't sound appetizing, but I ended up loving it. I guess it was more like something that you hated. or dislike.
Well,
But
you
I mean,
had
I
a
guess
period there, Angel, where you just didn't want fish. Period. Like
I
you
mean, I
just
still don't
didn't
really
like the
like.
thought of seafood.
I
Yeah.
still don't really like seafood in general. Like sushi's an exception, poke's an exception. Exception. The way certain types of fish is an exception, but overall, like I think if anyone ever suggests like, hey, let's go to a seafood restaurant, like that's immediately like unappealing, and
So
I
it seems
would
more like the
almost
preparation style is what you don't like, how it's made, not what it is.
yeah.
Because you like a whole bunch of different fish. If you like sushi and I mean, they both have
It's,
ahi tuna, but there's sushi can be all sorts of things. You can get eel, you can get octopus, you can get shrimp, tempura. So it sounds like it's a preparation thing or a style.
it's a mystery. I guess I'll never know.
I guess. Oh, Jesus, my voice. No, because I just never. I was gonna say cream spinach, but no.
Huh.
That mainly
but some
because I
things I
had
won't-
never tried it.
There's some things I won't want to eat, like spam. I'm kind of like about. Although spam musubi's not bad. But I don't think there's anything that I've like gone from.
Say spam sous vide.
Spam musubi. It's basically spam sushi. Not so many words.
I thought you were sous videing some spam.
Oh no. Yeah, so I'm with you on the like cream spinach or something. Well, although cream spinach I might, but I'm with you on the idea of like you just don't want to touch it to begin with, let alone actually try it.
Yeah, that or like an artichoke dip. I think I've talked about this already on the podcast, but that was because I just didn't want to get near it. But it was very, very good.
Yeah,
You
artichoke
didn't want to
dip's
get
great.
urine?
Near it.
I'm telling you, I'm very congested. I've been congested for the last year. This is some long COVID stuff. It sucks. I need to go to a doctor. Got free healthcare. I don't know why I don't take advantage of it.
Especially
that's
in
not
this
a flex or
country.
anything. I was just,
What a
I was just saying that I should probably be taking the opportunity of what I have.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that.
Yeah.
I feel like
what?
opportunities is some sort of segue into something, but I don't know what and I don't know how. But it just sounds like a segue. Yeah, like, take opportunities, like play that thing, watch that thing. I don't know.
I mean, I guess this is an opportunity to obviously bring up the fact that Ninja Turtles, of all things, is in Knockout City. I mean, not that that's like a very super special announcement, since I feel like crossovers have been huge for a while, and also turtles have just been popping up everywhere. They've popped up in Brawlhalla, Smite, Injustice, some other things I'm forgetting. Oh, I mean, Nickelodeon All Star Brawl doesn't really count because obviously they would be there. But, obviously I still find it exciting. But this one in particular was just a little more noteworthy because when one of our friends in our, personal friend chat, posted just, a video, but, the trailer for the new season of Knockout City. I think it's called, Mutant something.
Mutiny, because wordplay.
And I didn't watch it right away or anything. Actually, I never even did watch it. I still haven't even seen it. But, just seeing the word mutant immediately made me go like, oh, it'd be cool if they added Ninja Turtles to this. And, yeah, that's pretty much
my God, those crazy bastards did it.
Yeah, that's pretty much the end of it until way later when I just saw a tweet that someone posted where they're like, oh, now I know what I'm saving all my V-Bucks for or something. And then I was like, what the heck? Like, they actually did add them? Like, damn. And it's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, they're like the marketing turtle designs, but hey, I'll take that.
It was funny though when you posted that because like a few of us saw you say it and no one wanted to like spoil it for you. So like, everyone's like, oh, that's cool. And then you're just like, yeah, it'd be neat if they had the turtles. And then we just went radio silent on you because no one wanted to be like, they're there. So then like hours later, like, WTF, they did add the turtles with a screenshot. And we're just like, oh, so you watched the trailer. Like finally, but it was just like, which you still haven't done actually. But yeah, just really funny how like you kind of almost spoiled it for yourself, and then we didn't want to actually.
So did that start already?
It starts August 30th. It's interesting. I feel like
that's very soon.
Any excuse to talk about Knockout City is a good excuse because that game's really fun and deserves the love. But this update's actually kind of interesting because I did watch the trailer, and this is the first time in that game where they have like the trailer or watching trailers. In general?
Watching that trailer.
That's a good question. I'm interested in. So I was kind of there's two parts. I was kind of hoping that there'd be some gameplay mechanic change that comes out. Is there some gameplay mechanic addition? Because like Mutant, like I don't know what that can mean. Maybe the ball transforms between different special balls in mid-flight or something. So there's like a randomer element to it. I don't know, but I was a little, I guess, disappointed that it's just strictly like aesthetic. Like there is a new stage, and that stage does seem to morph or transform or something.
New
But
stage
that's
is
it.
probably the best thing they could do for the most. I mean, new stage and a new ball,
They
right?
introduced other new
Isn't
balls
that
in
like
the
what?
past.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, that's their Smash Brothers trend. Like, just give us a new stage and a new ball, and that's all.
But there is no
I
new
mean,
ball. That's my point. There's no gameplay changing thing. There's just a new stage.
oh,
What they
dang.
did do, though, that's more interesting, which is actually what I was starting to say before how to make it feel, is this is the first time they have actually, like, defined characters. Like, up to this point, there's, like, 3 generics you can be. You can customize them fully. But now there's, like, the 4 turtles. And there's these 4 mutant characters they made up. A guy named Neon, a girl named Susan, a rat thing, and then, do you remember in ARMS, the plasma guy? I forgot his name. The green jelly guy.
DNA Man?
Yeah, that's a Japanese name, but he had an American name. Whatever it is. They now have their own version of that. He's a blue blob named Goober.
Amoeba Man? I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, now they have like Goober.
Oh my gosh, I never really want to know what his name is.
Just look it up. But yeah, like everything's very aesthetic, which is fine. I mean, this is going to be a signal booster for the game, having the turtles in there. And the turtles are like, I think you can buy them like, there's a bundle you can buy. It's like $20 that has like the turtles and some other stuff. And then I guess they're adding more throughout the course of the season. So there's going to be like cosmetic rewards that are Ninja Turtle themed, like an April O'Neil outfit or like Shredder's mask. Apparently there's
his name is just Helix.
Hideout. Oh, Helix. Okay. Apparently there's new like hideout customization. Congrats. Apparently there's new like hideout customizations too that they're adding, but like it's all very aesthetics, which is cool. Don't get me wrong. It gives Knockout City the boost it needs, and just kind of like, oh, that's it. So excited to try it though. Just because I think visually it's gonna be very interesting.
There's no like new mode that comes with this.
I don't think so. I think it's literally aesthetics and a map.
Huh.
I mean,
which again isn't the end of the world, but
they literally
such an opportunity.
Don't have to give us anything else. If anything, they should probably like, take things away to like balance out how like amazing this is. So,
I'm sure they're taking away some of the season 6 superhero stuff when they add the season 7 mutant stuff. I mean, they have battle passes now, or brawl passes, I guess they call them. So, yeah, I'm sure there is a rotation that's going to happen.
It's only a matter of time before we get
sarcastic
turtles.
Point.
I guess it's only a matter of time before we get turtles and Fall Guys.
Well, you know what's interesting?
Free-to-play game I'm playing.
Done probably.
What?
I feel like it's been done, but I can't be too sure.
I don't think Fall Guys has done Turtles yet.
No, they definitely haven't.
They did Sonic the other week.
They did Godzilla, but that's about it.
That's true.
Sonic,
but yeah,
they're like the only thing that we would care about.
You know what is kind of funny about all this is like there's all that talk. Remember when the metaverse before Mark Zuckerberg sent out that photo of how bad Meta's metaverse looks? Remember when the metaverse was like the buzzer and I was like, yeah, it's gonna be all these IPs coming together. It's gonna be like this big thing and we're gonna monetize it. The Turtles and that list you rattled off, Angel, of every game they've popped up in, we're kind of like 3/4 of the way there already. Like all this talk of metaverses in the future, we have IPs crisscrossing every which way, all in virtual worlds where people hang out and use in-game currencies to do things. Yes, the abridged does, but like the Turtles are on like 5 games. You got something like Fortnite and Destiny 2. They're doing a crossover where each other are in each other. Like we're basically in the metaverse now. It's not how it was pitched, but in terms of what the metaverse is, of like companies, IPs all being monetized in virtual spaces and crisscrossing and stuff, like they just link those profiles together. You have the metaverse. We're basically there. Like it's kind of funny that there's all this like Web3 and stuff, but like Roblox, Fortnite, Knockout City to a smaller extent, like any of these crossovers are like right on that road. Like it's not. I don't know where I'm going with this. It's just something I kind of realized when you're rattling off that like 5 different things that they've done. Well, I mean, if think about it, like let's use the Destiny Fortnite thing. If they were to hypothetically in the future just let you share one account between the two, which no one wouldn't necessarily do, but like that's it. That's the metaverse. Done. Like all this like crazy talk of you have to be able to like have a virtual meeting. No, like the metaverse happens to be in games, but it's there. Fortnite's doing it. iHeartRadio launched their own concert venue inside Fortnite. Like, it's there. It's here. It's already happening. Anyway, I'll get off my metaverse horse now.
So turtles.
Yeah. Turtles. Actually, while we're talking about balls, because dodgeball, can I pivot? I've been playing games
Dragon
with
Ball
balls.
finally.
No, I've been. I don't know how to describe it. Everything
finally?
I've been doing in video games, including now Knockout when it comes out, is like ball based. Like Kirby's Dream Buffet, he's a ball. Pac-Man World, he's a ball. Like I'm just like.
You love balls.
I'm just video game balling, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I did want to share impressions of those two games. I guess now's a good time. Dream Buffet's a little older. I've had more time with it, so I should probably start
What
there.
if me and Angel just feed at you? Like, nope.
I don't know. I always ask it, but it's always rhetorical,
Balls?
and I'm afraid one day it's going to come back to bite me. I'll be like, yeah, if you want to talk about Kirby Dream Buffet, and you're going to be like, I really don't want to listen to Kirby Dream Buffet, and that's it. Then I can't. but yeah, yeah, but with Dream Buffet, like I don't even know where exactly to begin. Like for a game that's as straightforward conceptually as this, there's kind of a lot going on. Like the simplest way I can describe it, I mean, we were just kind of talking about a minute ago, is that it's sort of like Fall Guys, just like, and this is what I tweeted, but it's Fall Guys hopped up on sugar, basically. And in the most literal sense, it takes the kind of like cutesy aesthetic and like candy coated look of Fall Guys and just goes like full food. So, this ties in with everything we talked about. We got balls and we got food. Perfect. But yeah, you're basically rolling through like cakes and sandwiches and cobblers and some nice attention to detail. Like as Kirby rolls, like he actually accumulates little bits of food that get stuck to him, which is kind of funny and a little adorable. But theming wise though, like it all looks really nice and they get super creative in how it translates to gameplay. Like, different elements, like you use the yolk of a sunny side up egg as like a bounce pad, or you're climbing up stacks of pancakes by rolling in like syrup, like a trail of syrup, or, the connecting ramps of different things are like churros, all that sort of stuff. It's really cleverly done. But I also meant that like hopped up on sugar thing a little more figuratively, I guess. Because when you think of having like a sugar rush, right, like there's kind of this frenzied feeling to it. And that's really what Dream Buffet kind of feels like. It's like a more frenzied, chaotic riff on Fall Guys. So I don't know if either of you have played it. I'm guessing no.
No, I have not played Kirby's Dream Buffet. Fortunately,
Okay.
So sorry.
It's okay. I forgive you. I don't know if Nintendo does, but I do. Kevin, do you seek forgiveness as well? Okay. So basically, to give you guys a little backstory, a little set the table here.
I'm
The
not
basic
seeking
premise.
forgiveness, but I have not played it.
Fair.
I'm a sinner.
But yeah, the basic premise is that you go through a series of 4 trials. Stop me if you've heard this before. Some are races to an end goal. Others take place in more squared off arenas and have you needing to like defeat enemies or collect things. And at the end of the 4 trials, there's one winner who's crowned. Fall Guys. But where it differs is that it's not as simple as just get to the end or do the thing. I guess this is a bad pun. I guess you could say kind of like a cake. There's actually layers here too, like a good cake. There's layers. So there's sort of this underlying loop beneath the surface of strawberry collecting. Everything you do will affect your strawberry count. Along each race map are strawberries you can choose to grab. Some directly on your main path, some to the side or in more challenging spots. Alternatively, if you decide to get to goal first or second or third, there are 3 different cakes you can grab at the end. So if you're first, you can go for 50 strawberry cake, then 20, then 10. And then in the arena modes that take place between these races, you're either picking up strawberries as they fall from the sky or defeating enemies who then drop strawberries, or you're getting strawberries by knocking your opponent Kirby's out of the way. And these strawberries, like, matter, even in the physics of your Kirby. I mean, the game's general speed is much faster than something like Fall Guys, both in your movement and just kind of what's going on around you. But the more strawberries you have, the more momentum your Kirby has when rolling. But on the flip side, should you fall off the stage, Kirby has a float ability to help you recover, but it's more limited in how much it can save you depending on how much more physically heavy your Kirby is based on how many strawberries you've accumulated. And these strawberries do carry between each of the 4 rounds. Likewise, there are other items you can grab, like blueberries, and those can sometimes give you bonus strawberries at the very end. It's sort of like, think of it like the bonus stars in Mario Party, where like there's a random selection of little mini achievements that boost the final star count. But here, if you're heavier and rolling faster, those extra items that can maybe give you those bonus star equivalents at the end, they're going to be that much harder to reach because you're moving, with that much more momentum. So what I actually found it's that the best way to accumulate strawberries is to try just to be the first to the goal on the racing courses, and then if you can get that 50 strawberry cake at the finish line, you're decently set, and you're pretty much on the right track, except for one thing. Being decently set does not mean you're going to win. That's where like the Nintendo factor really comes into play, if you will. That thing where whatever multiplayer Nintendo game you name, 9 times out of 10, there's an element of chance, luck, or just general chaos that's going to shake up the final result. You know what I'm talking about. It happens with Smash when you turn on items, happens in Mario Kart, just kind of that like Mario Party Odyssey, just kind of that like, what's going to happen? Who knows? It's not up to you entirely moment. And in Dream Buffet...
It's going to help with longevity, I guess.
Yeah. And in Dream Buffet, this whole thing takes the form of the fourth and final round of each set you do. So it's basically Monkey Fight from Super Monkey Ball. All 4 Kirbys are thrown into an arena, and they want to knock each other off the stage. So the more strawberries you have going in from the first 3 matches, or first 3 rounds, the heavier you are, the harder it is to knock you. And plus, you have that much more weight to throw around for knocking out others. But there's also items that spawn on the map. And these items grant you different Kirby abilities that can make it easier to knock, the higher strawberry players off the map. So you could be twice as heavy as the runner-up going into that match. But if he, or even like the 4th place guy, gets Kirby a tornado ability or like a stone ability or whatever, it doesn't take long before they're sending you flying, which means you lose strawberries, they gain strawberries, or at least the chance to grab your strawberries. And it can totally change like the entire... What's the line they're using for the DCEU at Black Adam? Like changes the balance of power. Like seriously, it can you go from 1st to 4th, like really fast in that final round of Dream Buffet. And these items, by the way, do also exist in the racing segments to help you speed up or attract nearby items, or berries, or, shove other players out of the way. And they definitely add to kind of the frenzied vibe, for that mode. But for me, it feels like the final round is really where they're the most powerful and most impactful. And this final round, honestly, is, in my mind, the biggest differentiator between something like Fall Guys and Kirby's Dream Buffet. Like, what we've been talking, when we've been talking about Fall Guys, I feel like since it came out on Switch, one of the things I feel like I've always said, and we've talked about it like 2 or 3 times now between the different shows, but I feel like, what I've always said is I really liked how it's an online multiplayer experience that lets you kind of have total control over how you perform. There's not really a huge impact the other players typically can have on you in a direct way, at least the majority of the time. You kind of have your own agency, so to speak. But with Dream Buffet, it's very much is dependent on the other players. Plus, there's an element of chance, that I was mentioning with the items. And that one thing I didn't even bring up a second ago was in that last round, alongside the other players trying to knock you off, a random pair of tongs may appear above the arena and just try and grab you like you're in a buffet line or something. So, and if they grab you, you instantly are down 20 strawberries. So you're dodging people, there are tongs flying at you. Like, it's definitely a more chaotic sort of random experience versus something like Fall Guys, which has to be its inspiration in terms of the rest of the structure. Which isn't to say Kirby, like, Dream Buffet isn't fun. One thing I thought Nintendo and HAL did that I really like is they sort of turn it into, I guess, quite literally a buffet of like past Kirby references. So as you go through and level up, which is very much the same leveling up system as what you see in Fall Guys, you unlock all sorts of nods to other Kirby games. You get music tracks, you get new outfits and colors for your Kirby. There's little starting like pastry pad things that you spawn on that utilize art of characters going all the way back to the original Game Boy game. The star of every race has Master Hand counting you down. Like, if you're a big Kirby fan, going through the rank up system of, I think it's like 135 levels or something, and getting all those unlockables, it's a lot of fun. It works as a good hook. It has a good loop. I didn't even mention the emotes, which means you can literally like have Kirby say hi or whatever, like on cue whenever you want. You just hit the D-pad. Plus, there's beyond that, just the package as a whole, there's options to explore levels without opponents who just want to kind of like scope them out or think about the best route to take or look at the food theming. And there's also local 2-player, which Fall Guys doesn't have, although it's just you and the other local person against computer opponents. You can't go online with the other person. But even then, if you want to play solo against computers, you can do that. Another thing Fall Guys doesn't have. So really, in terms of like, I guess what I'm getting at is in terms of like this sort of bite-sized eShop only Kirby spin-off game that HAL seems to always put out every few years. Dream Buffet does feel like perhaps the one that gives you the most bang for your buck at $15. And in its own right, it is a lot of fun. It's just the parallels to Fall Guys are so strong that I really couldn't help but compare and contrast them when thinking about the game. And in a way, maybe that is an advantage that Dream Buffet has, because it can be complementary to Fall Guys, specifically because it's not quite cookie-cuttered, but it's sort of like a sister experience. Like, I could definitely see myself, and I already have been sort of alternating between them, because Kirby, as its own game, is a solid game with its own mechanics and strategies, and it's just super adorable, which also helps. But yeah, it's kind of like, it's interesting because it's very much Nintendo riffing on something that's established, but Nintendo-fying it in the most Nintendo-y of ways, if you will. So yeah, that's Kirby. I think if you go back and pay attention to what I was saying, I think because my brain works in puns, I probably unintentionally like worked in like a bunch of food expressions. I noticed I said cookie cuttered just now, and I was like, oh, and I said buffet before. So like that, you make a drinking game out of it. You might get drunk just listening to those impressions. But yeah, it's a good game. It's fun.
Good to hear. It looks aesthetically
yeah.
pleasing. But
yeah, I feel like I
haven't had a chance to even think about downloading it yet.
I feel like they could have maybe stripped out some of the extra stuff, like the computer options in the 2-player, and made it a Switch Online expansion pack like freebie, and it could have gotten a lot of lift. But even as is, I have like no problem doing matchmaking or anything. So yeah, like for $15, it's really not a bad deal. Yeah, like I was saying though, I have 2 balls that I've been. Oh, that was really badly worried. I just have 2 balls I've been 2 ball characters of late. This is horrible. This is why we don't record at AM, guys. But yeah, while I'm on the topic of characters that are ball shaped, and on the topic of games I was unreasonably more excited about than the average person probably should be, Pac-Man World, Re-PAC, launched on Friday. Between this and Kirby, yeah, I've just been rolling around a lot lately. What was that?
A lot of balls in your life.
A lot of balls in my life. And I'm only a couple worlds into Re-PAC so far, since it literally just came out. But I have to say, it like really does kind of hit the marks of what you'd want from this sort of like 3D platformer throwback. I mean, I don't know if you guys are super familiar with Pac-Man World. Have you played any of them on any? It started on PS1, I think, ended on.
Not, but I've always been aware of them, and like especially the popularity of Pac-Man World 2. There were always games, especially in the GameCube era, where I was like, I want to play that game, but just never got around to it.
Yeah, it's 2's the one I played. 2's the one I got super into. I mean, I never owned it. I think I've said this before, but I didn't own it. I just used to rent it a bunch for Blockbuster when I was a kid, and I actually got all the way to the final boss. I don't remember if I fully beat the final boss. I know I got to the final boss. So, go me, maybe, possibly. But Kevin, did you ever play Pac-Man World or anything?
Maybe.
No.
Okay.
I was always a Miss Pac-Man person. So,
do you know about what's going on with Miss Pac-Man, by the way?
No, what did she do?
She's wiped out of existence by Bandai Namco. Like, she's just gone. Now it's Pac-Mom.
Okay, well, I'm boycotting any Pac-Man stuff until...
They should have went with Pac-Man, but... Yeah.
I know, that's what I said. When they first announced Pac-Mom, I said the exact same thing on Twitter. It's like, it's such an obvious pun. Like, what are you doing,
really?
Namco? Like, come on. Yep. I have the receipts if you need it. I can find you the timestamp.
No.
But no, like, it is 100% the better name. That's why we both thought of it. It's such a better name. But yeah, I guess what happened with Miss Pac-Man, Kevin, you're going to be waiting a long time if you're boycotting. So Miss Pac-Man was originally a ROM hack of Pac-Man back in the day that some team at like not MIT, but somewhere in Michigan or something, some team made this like ROM hack. And it's basically a harder Pac-Man. And then Bandai Namco, I guess Namco at the time, saw an opportunity to kind of make a sequel of Pac-Man, but they couldn't just like make another Pac-Man. They needed to differentiate it, so they stuck a little fake bow and called it Miss Pac-Man. But whoever made that Pac-Man ROM that became Miss Pac-Man still owns the rights to everything involving it, including Miss Pac-Man. I guess maybe the deal they originally negotiated, they got to keep the character or something. So Bandai Namco I feel like, if I remember correctly, wasn't actually paying back the residuals on that. So they were like, you can't use her anymore. Or Bandai Namco decided they don't want to pay it anymore, so they're not using her anymore. But either way, Miss Pac-Man, even though it's such an iconic Namco character, isn't actually Namco's. And thus we now have the badly named Pac-Mom. So, who has a big pink hat instead of a pink bow. And weird eyes.
Whack.
Yeah. It's super bizarre. But anyway, for Pac-Man World, for those who aren't as familiar with it, which I don't blame you. This was like 23 years ago that it came out. But basically, it's like if Mario 3D World time traveled to the 90s and, I don't know, had like a love child with Crash Bandicoot, kind of. Which I guess in more layman's terms means we're talking like a 2.5D platformer, except there's some small contained areas that offer fuller 3D movement, and there are others that are a bit more left and right 2D style, but you can still sort of move within that space on the Z-axis. And then you kind of sprinkle in like some Mario 64 Metal Mario as like the one big power-up that Pac-Man has is you could turn to Metal Pac-Man, because, you know, this came out a couple years after Mario 64, so everything was metal. But within all this, the game throws you through, you know, as you expect with any platformer, different worlds. So far, different themed worlds. So far, I've seen a pirate-themed one and an ancient ruins one with lava, which I just completed last night. And it's up to you to collect all sorts of miscellaneous fruit, find hidden layers in each level to spell out Pac-Man, a la Donkey Kong Country, and just generally, you know, reach the end of the stage, all in the name of saving Pac-Man's family, who the ghost kidnapped, which includes, as we stated, not Miss Pac-Man, but Pac-Mom, which is one of the biggest changes from the original back in the day. And it also randomly includes Puka, who's that little red dude with the goggles from Dig Dug. Like, I didn't know, or I forgot that he was, like, in the Pac-Man lore in the way that, like, Donkey Kong sort of shoved it to Mario's. He has a name, yeah. I learned that yesterday when they're like, oh no, Puka, or oh, you saved Puka. And I'm like, Puka? Okay. So, yeah, his name's Puka. But, yeah, back to Re-PAC. So, since it's a Pac-Man game, even if a platformer, the thing that kind of separates it from a lot of other platformers is there's still power pellets and ghosts that factor into it. The developers actually found kind of a clever way to weave them in relatively organically. There are segments where you see ghosts roaming, and if you use a glowing pellet, you transform into like a giant Pac-Man that can both, you know, eat the ghosts and collect extra pellets that pop up around them. And there's a time limit, of course, just like a normal Pac-Man. But then there's also full-on maze stages where if you find another crossover reference, a little like Galaga symbol thing, like a little sprite of a Galaga ship or enemy ship, and you take it to the right place, you can go into like a fuller top-down arcadey Pac-Man maze that's themed around whatever world you're in. And each level, it seems, has one of those. So that's kind of a fun thing to unlock. But back in the standard 3D platforming, the pellets also are now items. You can throw them at enemies. I've so far found myself actually not using that move very much, but using Pac-Man's other two moves a lot more. There's a revved up dash charge you can do by holding X. But the most prominent one, which is very satisfying, is he has his own ground pound that they call the butt bounce that you can do by double tapping jump. And there's also, for this version, a new flutter jump that if you hold Y, you can kind of hold yourself in midair momentarily. And as I look at that list of attacks I wrote down, it's dawning on me that he literally is just stealing from every other mascot he hung out with in Smash Bros. I mean, the dash, I guess, is Sonic's. The butt bounce is obviously Mario's. The flutter jump is Yoshi's. Like, dude was taking notes when he joined the Smash Bros. Roster. But yeah, like I was saying before, still fairly early in the game. But so far it's been fun to sort of see the origins of what led to the eventual Pac-Man World 2, which, as Angel, you were saying, is one that a lot of people really fawn over. And, you know, I did for sure. It's, I think, too early to say if this is as good, let alone if my nostalgia will ever give me an unbiased perspective on that. But what I can say is that it's its own little platformer so far. I'm finding Re-PAC to be like solid fun, if not relatively straightforward. I mean, there's no crazy innovative ideas so far or things you haven't really seen a platformer do, at least not yet. And you can sort of see its age too, and how like the camera angles the game uses sometimes can make grabbing items a little unnecessarily difficult every so often in the way that like I know Crash Bandicoot used to suffer. But that aside, like it's just kind of a nice, simple game, like simple gameplay experience, kind of like a chill platformer. It's only $30, which is nice. So yeah, if you're looking for something a little lighter, it's a pretty good one. But word to the wise, if you do decide to pick it up though, It took me a little bit to figure this out, but be sure to go into the options if you're getting it on Switch and scroll down to toggle the game from the default resolution mode to performance mode, or not resolution to performance. This is the one option that doesn't fit on the screen by default, so it's kind of hidden. And Bandai Namco never even advertised it exists, making it even more hidden. But it does let the game run at a smoother frame rate. There's barely any detectable difference in the graphics. Resolution mode, on the other hand, has some frame rate oddities. So it took me like half a world of the game and almost getting a headache for some reason to realize I can make this change. And it was great once I did. So definitely just do that from the start. You're welcome in advance. But yeah, overall, fun little platformer. So that's my balls. That's Kirby and Pac-Man. That's all I got.
I totally forgot that I can talk about some balls.
Oh yeah, by all means.
I totally forgot. I saw.
What do you mean, ball all means?
Wait, what?
I love what you said. Ball all means instead of.
Oh, ball all means. Yes, ball all means. Please, ball away.
I want to talk about some Dragon Balls because I totally forgot. I did see the new Dragon Ball Super movie, Dragon Ball Super Superhero, which is a terrible, terrible name.
Why does it have super twice?
Was it a terrible, terrible movie?
No, it was a fantastic.
Because I've only heard
movie.
pretty bad things about it.
Have you actually?
You've heard bad things about it? Even I've heard good things. I don't even follow Dragon Ball.
I mean, I've obviously heard a lot of good things about it, but I mean, I've also heard pretty bad things. But yeah.
What?
I mean,
interesting.
Makes sense. People have taste. I mean, if someone likes something, someone's bound to not like something. But I don't know.
Sure,
I've yet to see it for myself, but I do want to watch it. I think I'm pretty interested in it.
Yeah,
despite not being super interested to Dragon Ball. But, yeah.
But you saw Broly, right?
Yeah, which was also pretty cool.
Yeah. So
also for anyone, sorry to keep interrupting you, but for anyone, we did watch the other day, like the Broly fight, but like they posted the 60 FPS version, like the fan upscaled one, and I mean, I guess I'm sure there obviously are people that like how that looks, but God, that looked terrible in my opinion. Like, Jesus, just so dizzying. Because I mean,
interesting.
Because animation, is very, to me, like, I don't know, it just looks like it makes it look a lot worse. Because it feels like the timing just becomes off, which is literally what's happening. Because I mean, you're upscaling the frame rate of something that's designed to be like in 24 frames per second, because that's just how animation works. So if you make something 60 frames per second without like properly, I guess, like upscaling those timings of the animation, like you're just gonna get a bunch of funkiness. Like some effects, things that are supposed to be continuously constant as far as speed goes, like that will look fine, like beams and I guess smoke and like I guess mostly visual effects. But for anything like punches or movements by characters, like I don't know, it just looks like, I guess, like that kind of buffering, or I don't know what to call it, where like the screen is moving or the movie's playing, but it feels like the next frame is getting layered on top and smeared instead of it actually transitioning to the next frame cleanly. That's just how it feels to me the whole time. But anyway, this new superhero movie with,
I'm going to now interrupt too real fast, because I was going to say, I feel like 4K upscales in general are super hit and miss. Like,
yeah,
I think because it's AI driven ultimately, but like I saw Thor the other day, which we won't talk about until you have a chance to see it, Kevin. But they had a trailer before it for Jaws 40th anniversary, I think, screening back in theaters, now in IMAX, and like it looks so grainy, like because obviously it was filmed on film, and it like if you're gonna do like a digital restoration into 4K, like it looked just like grainy. Like it seemed totally pointless to me. Like I don't know why. Like I get seeing it on a big screen is fun, but like I don't know why they didn't just re-release it as a normal movie. Like I don't know what it's gaining from IMAX. Like the other day, Coldplay's "A Rush of Blood to the Head," or whatever it's called, turned 20 years old, and they're like, oh, here's a remaster of the Scientist music video now in 4K, and I'm like, do I need to see Chris Martin's pores at a higher definition? I don't know. Like why? Like, what do we gain from 4K? So, like, yeah, I feel like sometimes just playing catch up with technology doesn't necessarily help, and in some cases, like you're saying, it might actually be detrimental. just interesting how it's like a box to check. Like, yeah, we'll make it a higher resolution. What do you achieve by doing that? Is always kind of my question. But anyway, sorry, Kevin, you're going to talk about the redundantly named movie.
I'm watching Vegeta vs. Broly, upscaled in 4K. Man, this looks awesome. It's not in 60 frames, just in 4K. It looks really, really good. Like you said, AI is very hit and miss, these upscales.
Yeah.
But anyways, Dragon Ball Superhero. God, terrible name. Takes place, I think it takes place a couple of years after the end of Dragon Ball Super. I don't remember how long it takes place after. But it does take place after Broly, though. It's a movie that has very, very little Goku or Vegeta, which is very interesting because they have been the focal point of this series for, I don't know, since basically Dragon Ball Z essentially started. The main focus of these movies are Piccolo and Gohan. Gohan is my favorite Dragon Ball character, so the fact that he finally got the spotlight was super, super awesome. And also Piccolo. Piccolo has always been sort of the father figure for these characters, which is funny considering that Goku's just a terrible father. I think a lot of people on the internet have acknowledged this. Goku is just a super bad dad. Not like super bad, like cool, like just a terrible, terrible father. But anyways, in this movie, Gohan isn't paying attention to his daughter. He's just not paying attention to his daughter Pan. And Piccolo is like basically training her, and he comes across a conspiracy, or not a conspiracy, but a plan to kidnap her, because this company called the Red Ribbon Army, who any Dragon Ball fan will know who that is sort of like re-emerging from the shadows, and so I believe they need like Gohan's power to essentially bring up like a brand new evil experiment that I won't spoil. And so it's up to Piccolo and Gohan to take down the Red Ribbon Army, and it's super, super awesome. They both get new. I don't even know if I want to say this because it's kind of a spoiler, but they essentially get brand new transformations, which in Dragon Ball, everybody at some point will get a brand new transformation. And Piccolo and Gohan specifically, they haven't gotten a new transformation ever since Dragon Ball Z back in the day, while Goku and Vegeta have gotten multiple transformations since. So that was super cool. Another thing about this movie that might be a little hit and miss for some people is that it's actually using 3D animation instead of just hand-drawn 2D. It's very jarring at first, but after a while you get a little bit used to it, and some of the fight scenes look really, really good in 3D. Just the way that the camera swings around. The direction on this movie is very, very good. Aside from that, it's very similar to Dragon Ball Super Broly, where there's kind of no plot to it. Once the fighting starts, that's pretty much all you're going to get for the rest of the movie. I think Dragon Ball Super Broly, I think the last 45 minutes of that movie were nothing but non-stop fights, and you pretty much get the same thing here. Which I don't mind because Dragon Ball doesn't have the strongest story to begin with. So it's this movie along with Broly are sort of like the Mad Max Fury Road of Dragon Ball movies, where there's very, very little story. If there is a story there, it's like it's fine, but the rest of it's like non-stop action.
I don't want to hear.
That being said, I did like Broly a little bit better, mainly because I do prefer the 2D animation over the 3D animation that they use in this. It still looks really, really good. Aside from that, yeah, it was a very, very good Dragon Ball Super movie, or Dragon Ball movie just in general. And fun fact, Charles Martinet is in this movie.
I knew that somehow.
Yeah. So there you go.
Who does he play?
A little incentive. He plays one of the villains. You can
you tell it's him?
That it's him? No, no.
Oh. So he's not like, wahoo, let's go get the Dragon Balls or anything like that.
Or is it more his normal voice, like when he's the narrator in Runner the Runner
No,
series.
not at all. No, he definitely puts on a voice.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah,
Good
so
old Charles Marty.
very, very small review of Dragon Ball Super Superhero. They do explain why it's called superhero. But I'll save that for later. Well, for later, you can see it from the movie.
He's gonna
you'll see why it's
whisper
called
it into
Super Superhero.
all your ears while you're sleeping, listeners. They'll come house by house.
There's gonna be a hidden ending to this episode, and we're gonna tell you why. Just gonna whisper
If
it
you
to
wait
you guys. Like
after 5 minutes of silence, you'll
Exactly.
hear him whisper.
Yeah.
Did you like when bands do that? By the way, where like they do a hidden track, but you have to like listen to like 8 minutes of a gap of nothing in between the end of the track and the start of the hidden. Yeah, it's really weird, right?
Like if you just play it after the last song, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, same.
Just don't put it on the listing. That's it. All you gotta do.
Yeah, exactly. There was a before they blew up, Linkin Park did an old thing when Hybrid Theory EP they called it back. I think when the band might have been called Hybrid Theory, and they have a song called is it And One? But there's like static, like a little like it sounds like there's like tapping in aux chords. It's like zzz, 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 and that goes for like 6 minutes, and then there's like a minute and a half like instrumental thing at the end of that. And I was like, why? Like I love you, Linkin Park, but why do I need 6 minutes of zzz, zzz, zzz? Like it makes I like literally edited the MP3 myself because I'm like this is I'm never gonna sit in my car while driving and be like, oh, only 5 more minutes of zzz, 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 till I get to the good thing. Like it doesn't make sense. I don't know why. Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, Angels, anything that you want to talk about?
Well, I was just gonna say that, like, seeing as how you said superhero, I guess I might as well, like, want to wrap up, like, my thoughts on Young Justice. Because I want to say I brought it up a while ago when I first started watching. Did that happen? Was that a thing?
Maybe. I know we've had discussions about it, but I don't remember if it was in front of a microphone.
Well, I mean, I guess to quickly sum up, Young Justice is a show that I didn't really think I would ever get around to watching it. I mean, I have enjoyed, I guess, all the DC, at least serial content that I've watched. I mean, including like Harley Quinn. But, I mean, also from the past, like, I did used to watch Justice League Unlimited, Batman Animated Series, that Superman show. I think there was also like a Batman and Superman. But there was all like in that same art style by Bruce Timm. I think they
what
call
about
it the
Super
Timverse.
Friends? I'm not saying this jokingly. I'm serious. Did you ever watch Super Friends? Because I used to love Super Friends as a kid.
This wasn't part of that era. I'm talking about.
Well,
like,
I know,
anything
but I mean, like, did you watch reruns of it too?
No, I think I would change the channel when that would come on.
Wow. Okay. I mean, it was of its era, but like it was.
Yeah, the old stuff. I guess I can't really get into for some reason. Like even like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends or whatever it's called, where I guess he's a roommate with Firestar and Iceman. I guess
that one I've never seen. That's a different era entirely, even than Super Friends. I think like Super Friends was like 70s, 80s.
I think it's from the same era because they both have the same quality of animation.
Oh,
but
fair.
Yeah, but like I typically don't think these things out, but I've always heard about like how great Young Justice is, and how it was basically. I'm sure it was because it was short lived that it had like more notoriety. And then, HBO Max came along and they revived it and it got 2 seasons. And presumably it's getting a third, but it's actually hard to say now. Because
not if it's HBO Max.
Yeah, they've recently been like kind of canceling a lot of animation projects, some of which I was really looking forward to.
That after your impressions
here. I guess not even canceled. I mean, like they're pretty much just like they have to be shopped around again. So these things can still happen. But I know we lost like a Batman project about things.
Straight up canceled a bunch. They are actively removing already finished existing animated projects. Like they don't.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But anyone else can like. I mean, they could still be. I mean, if Netflix picks them up, that can happen.
For the new shows, not for stuff like Close Enough. That just got wiped off the face of the earth, never to be seen again. Yeah, they.
I mean, I know that show got canceled. Like, it's just done.
Yeah, no, they actively removed it.
But that's like no different than any other show. They don't want to pay the residuals.
Yeah, no, but like the bulk of the animation, including stuff from Cartoon Network, they don't want to pay residuals to the actors or the creative teams. So, because they're doing such weird cost cutting, like the Batgirl stuff. So they actively removed them and have no plans to put them back on streaming. So all three
I mean,
seasons of a show that's already done is gone. Just gone. And they gave like 2 days notice before they took it down.
yeah, it's pretty terrible.
Anyway, sorry, I may go out. Whoever the new management at Warner Brothers is awful. This is the takeaway.
Yeah, that's kind of a shame because that was kind of one of the biggest appeals of HBO Max. But
yeah, it was really solid. The breadth of content and stuff even the deal they just signed with A24, where they're bringing all the A24 movies to HBO Max exclusively. They let go of the entire team that made that deal happen. Like they're apparently gunning for the Middle America Discovery Channel network of channels audience, but with Warner Brothers, which is weird because like if you're buying something that's a more diversified viewpoint and more diversified audience, why would you then homogenize it towards the audience you already have, which already you're successful with, versus making more money with the broader audience? Anyway, I'm sorry I'm interrupting Young Justice. Please continue, Angel.
yeah, so Young Justice. I forgot we were talking about that. Yeah, I'm surprised. I ended up liking it as much as I did. I mean, I guess it was more so like, oh, actually, it just kind of lived up to the hype. But at the same time, it's also just funny how like I didn't realize just how much of a novella this was gonna be. Like, damn, like if every second of this show just has like drama and intrigue, and there's like you literally get like the whole like I'm your twin brother, blah blah's my there's like reveals like every other episode, and it's always like cliffhangery. Like it's a soap opera. It's like the biggest soap opera ever. I don't remember the last time I saw any show that had like plot threads that are like teased in like the first few episodes that aren't resolved until like 2 seasons later or like 1 season later. Like usually things are a little more contained, but man, like this thing, like every single episode, every single character they introduce, like has like some big payoff later, or like has I don't know. It's kind of neat. Like I said, like I don't remember the last time I saw something that just had this many things connecting to each other, or things that seemed like they would be one-off but that had bigger implications later. And it seems like they really went out of their way to give like every character like the time of day. That being said, though, like the first season does stay mainly focused to like a few characters, which I think is a lot better. Like I mean, you have Robin, Kid Flash, and Aquaman, and Speedy, which for those that don't know is like the Green Lantern's sidekick. But yeah, they're kind of like the lone wolf that doesn't want to play ball with everyone else because they finally get to join the Justice League. But I mean, I guess if HBO Max hasn't gotten rid of it yet, I mean, I think it's worth checking out, especially if you have any remote interest in the DC universe or if you happen to like any of those heroes. Because even though it's called Young Justice, I would say like the Justice League, so your Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and such, play like not just as big of a role, but a pretty big role too. It almost feels like you're just watching a modern Justice League show. Like it's as much a Justice League show as it is about like those younger characters. And like even though it's 3 seasons, I think it's 4 seasons. No, I don't remember, 3 or 4 seasons. It does cover many many years, so like you basically see them as like young teens to full on adults, which is also kind of cool. Just that you get this nice sense of time, but they do have a lot of time skips. There are some characters like they literally try to give every character the time of day, so the later seasons do seem to feel a little disjointed sometimes, just because we're not following this character that just gets like their 2 or 3 episodes to themselves, and then that's kind of it. And it kind of paid off later. Like I mentioned, everything is still connected, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, all right. If that character wasn't your favorite one, it ends up feeling kind of like all right, that I could have done without that episode. That's cool, and it's still fine, but it didn't really feel as impacting as others. But yeah, I guess it's long story short, I'm just surprised I liked it this much. Definitely enjoyed it. But oh my god, you could totally tell the budget was severely decreased in the last few seasons. Like the first season, the action is still cool for the most part. The action was really great in the first season, but yeah, the next couple seasons, like I mean, you thought anime was all about cost cutting. Like this show, I feel almost takes it to an extreme level. It's almost like I'm watching Evangelion, because that show in particular is like notorious for like having very few like scenes where there's like a lot of movement. Sometimes they're just like have the camera pointed at a wall and you just hear people talking just because they don't want to animate them. And it's obviously choreographed that way so that it doesn't feel too jarring. But it's noticeable that like they're really trying to save money. Even when you have characters on screen, like people like barely move unless they're fighting. But the first season definitely didn't have that problem. So kind of wondering what happened there. But yeah, that's Young Justice.
You know what's funny is as you're describing that, like, oh yeah, there's stuff they drop in season 1 that gets relevant in later seasons, and like there's episodes that go deeper into certain characters in the later seasons. Granted, it's only 2 seasons, what I'm about to say, and granted, it's a very different genre. Only Mirrors in the Building does something similar. I didn't want to talk about it too much because like you can't really talk about a murder mystery without talking about how it pulls off a murder mystery or not. But season 2 of that was very similar to how you're describing, with like cliffhangers ending each episode, twists that are set up for a long time ago. Like it's eerily similar in at least conceptually to what you're saying about how Young Justice presents itself, which is kind of funny, unexpected parallel there.
Oh yeah, but recommend it. Eventually, I'll talk about Harley Quinn. That show is also great. I'm pretty sure I did talk about it before, but new season, still funny. So actually, I might as well just mention it at this point. New season, still funny. Definitely recommend it. I guess I won't say much except like, the characters, they're taken in different directions that you would expect. Some of them are I just unexpected but funny. The show, I don't know, you could tell they're having a lot of fun with it, especially with like the DC license. Like it's unapologetically just, I guess, unapologetically. I don't know what word to put there, but it's worth
They're
watching.
taking
That's
some
something they're a lot of
license
fun.
with the license.
A lot of liberties, but
Or
yeah,
liberties, there we
mainly.
go. They're taking liberties with the license, yeah.
Yeah, I mean the only like, and this is actually something that I talked about with my brother-in-law. Like the only character that feels kind of they went like really hard on one character trait that wasn't really brought up too much in the past was something with Batman. But otherwise, yeah, just another great show that I hope keeps going on HBO Max. I mean, I haven't finished. I mean, the season is still going, so I don't know if it's gonna have a conclusive ending or if they're gonna leave it open like they did in the last 2 seasons, where it was like clearly they're gonna have something else. But actually, no, I take that back. The last season could have ended right there, and that would have been fine. Like there wasn't really anything left open, I would say. But
I'm gonna guess that they might do an open-ended one simply because all the Warner Brothers Discovery drama started after season 3 was done being produced and made.
that being said, too, like Harley Quinn was never a character I ever really cared about, and I still don't really, except like in regards to this show, because yeah, like it's just funny. And yeah, it makes me a fan of it. I still wouldn't say I'm a fan of Harley Quinn in general, but I am a very fan of the show and even this portrayal of Harley Quinn. But
You know who
yeah,
plays her, right? You know who voices her, right?
I think I do. It's like someone from Big Bang Theory. I think.
Yeah, Kaylee Cuoco, who played Penny on Big Bang Theory.
Ah, well,
If
I
there's
never really
anyone that
watched
came
Big
out of
Bang
that
Theory, so I couldn't
show...
even recognize her voice or remember what she
Oh,
sounded
she's not
like. But I
doing her
guess
normal
that's it.
voice. It's definitely Harley Quinnified. But I was just saying, if there's anyone that came out of that show that I didn't think would like have such a diversified portfolio. Like, she does that, she does the flight attendant, she's just all over HBO Max seemingly. But no, she like really kind of found her footing after Big Bang.
Yeah, well, good for her, doing a bang up job.
Mm-hmm.
So I see in
Spe-
the docket, I see something called The Bear. What the heck is that? Is it like a documentary, or
I
is it
actually wasn't
about?
ready to talk about this,
is
but I guess
is
I
it
can.
about a lumberjack? We could save it, but I'm just curious because don't think I ever heard of that.
Depends. Jason, is this gonna be like on your list or
I think
that never-ending list, or?
Wait, in terms of things to watch, depending on what you say, I might add it. Yeah.
Sure. So, The Bear, it's this TV show on FX or FX on Hulu. I don't exactly know what they're doing over there.
Just Disney. It's all just Disney.
Yeah. But it's the show about this this beef sandwich shop in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. And basically the main character, his brother owned that Italian beef shop, which I think is just called The Beef. Yeah, it's called The Beef, exactly. And so he is actually like a world-renowned chef who then has to go back home to run this beef shop because his brother committed suicide. And so it's sort of the show sort of starts off as like this big head of honcho, or this big well-known chef is coming to this little beef shop, and so it's sort of almost like the trials and tribulations of having to take over a small business. So he at first he has trouble with the staff. He has trouble with the menu. He's got money problems that he has to take care of that his brother didn't before he passed. It's 8 episodes long, and I binged the crap out of it because holy crap, this is a 9 out of 10 TV show. The direction is fantastic. The acting is great. The main character, I never saw Shameless, but the main character is one of those main characters from that show. And I still have never seen him in anything outside of that, but he's fantastic in the show. He's just running a clinic of acting. The supporting characters are also very, very fun. You have some people there who like this. There's this lady who's been at the beef for decades at this point. You have the brother's best friend who ran the beef with the brother. And so it's now you have the main character, Kirby, like bumping heads with his brother's best friend because they knew how to run the place together, and that's actually like one of the main conflicts of the show. Like you have this guy who's been running behind the scenes this entire time, but now you have the younger brother who has no idea about this world coming in trying to run the business. And so they bump heads. You have the eyes wide open new employee who like is trying to get their start in the food business. It's really good. The second to last episode, especially the last 20 minutes of the second to last episode, are so anxiety inducing. I know some people didn't like it because of this. It's almost like I wouldn't exactly compare this to Uncut Gems in terms of how much anxiety it produces, but it is a very stressful show, especially the first episode, the second to last episode.
You just shot the show up my list with the not quite Uncut Gems comparison, because I have never felt so anxious in a movie as I did for Uncut Gems. So if this gets anywhere near that, even if it's like an eighth of that, like that has my attention. Yeah,
it absolutely is about an eighth of that. Yeah, it's a fantastic show. Very underseen, I guess, but it is getting a second season. That being said, if they somehow, for some reason, have to shut down the second season, the season finale was like actually like a very perfect bow tie to the show. So I wouldn't mind if the show had ended there. That being said, I am very excited for a second season. Yeah, so a quick
I'm
on
gonna
the
have to
bear.
check this out. I'm definitely gonna have to check this out. The bear.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to binge the entire thing, but I binged the entire thing in one sitting.
Wow. And each episode's what, 45?
Yeah, they're about
Give
45.
or take? Okay. Wow, so that's like 6 to 7 hours of TV you watched in one go.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's that good.
That was
Probably
me
my
with-
favorite show of the year so far.
Wow. Okay, that's
Damn.
high praise. I was saying, in terms of watching a lot at once, that was me with Stranger Things because I didn't want to see spoilers. So I watched all of part 1 of season 4 in one go. With a break for dinner, but it was like 9 straight hours. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's
A lot of TV.
A lot of TV.
I totally you came into this podcast thinking like, did I do anything? And like, yeah, I've been doing a lot actually.
It's funny because, like, there's some stuff that's like, I mean, I guess this is the whole like thing about like tentpole movies versus just movies, but there's like some stuff that's like, oh, this is like a event, like a moment, like I'm going to see Spider-Man or whatever, and there's other stuff you just kind of like quietly consume that ends up having more of a slower lasting impact. Like, the bear, you even remember that you wanted that to be something to talk about, and yet, until we start recording, and yet, your favorite show of the year. So it's kind of funny how it can have those sort of different levels of impact, Not that this is a profound observation by any means, but, yeah. Speaking of shows with some weird impact, though, and speaking of shows that are getting a second season that maybe, do they need one, without spoiling anything, The Rehearsal, Nathan Fielder's new show on HBO Max. Back to HBO. Back to balls. This guy has balls. Have you guys been watching The Rehearsal?
Well, yeah.
Watch the first 4 episodes.
The Nathan show.
Yeah, Nathan Fielder. Yeah, so you watched 4, Kevin. Angel, you're done with it? You're in the middle?
Yeah, it's a Nathan
You're
show.
done,
Of course
right.
it's been watched.
Yeah, and then I finished it too. Well, obviously we're not going to spoil anything in part because, Kevin, you haven't finished it in part for listeners, but what did you guys think of it? Because, we've all watched Nathan For You, and it's just kind of that, but not. How did you guys feel about it?
It felt like that, but not. I enjoyed it. It was fun. I'm glad, it still kind of kept going into the show, I actually didn't really know much about it. I didn't even realize he had a show until, the week of. And I thought, oh, cool. Every episode is going to be, a new situation. And it kind of is, but, at some point I feel oh, it's just going to be this one big project which is fine. But I was kind of, hoping for more of the other things, but they still kind of did them. Same. So I was okay, that's cool. But then it kind of goes back to not. But it was entertaining the whole time. I did enjoy, everything I saw. Definitely, as I'm sure you're going to bring up, it definitely goes in many directions, especially towards the end that you don't expect it to. But
yeah, and I'm very tepid about. I'm really cautious about what I'm going to say in that regard. But before I even say anything, Kevin, before we say anything, we should probably sum up the premise for people who haven't seen it real quick. Anyone want to do the honors? You want me to do it? Just a quick, basically the byline of it.
Yeah, it's good with the byline.
All right. I don't even know if byline's the right word. I think that's the name of the author of an article, so that might not be the right word. But yeah, basically, if Nathan For You is Nathan Fielder helping people overcome business struggles with wacky ideas that somehow seem to work, The Rehearsal is presented to you initially as that same idea, but for personal issues. So the premise, if you will, is if you can think through every possible outcome of how something can unfold, you can navigate the best possible outcome of that scenario. So the show is presented to you initially as there's a guy who needs help. He lied to his trivia teammates on trivia night about having a master's degree. He doesn't want to bring it up, and he doesn't know how to bring it up because, it's an awkward thing, and he thinks one of the teammates will kind of snap at him about it. So they walk him through to more and more absurd lengths the different ways it could play out. They, literally rebuild the bar he does trivia night at in a warehouse in, Greenpoint in New York, in Brooklyn. They, do all this stuff to, let him, really, explore every possible outcome. And then that's the first episode. And that's, I think, premise that, Angel, you're that's kind of why I was tuning in and expecting to see every episode. And me too. I thought it would be Nathan For You, but with, personal issues. Then episode 2 hits, and it kind of pivots to, a long-form version of this, where it involves, rehearsing, being a parent. And then, Nathan kind of becomes a part of the rehearsal while simultaneously doing other rehearsals for other people, at least in some of the episodes. It's this whole, it's layer. It's a meta super layer. There's rehearsals of rehearsals inside rehearsals with other rehearsals, and it just gets super, trippy, essentially. I think that's a kind of broad way to describe the show, right?
Yeah, and it's great because just when you think, it couldn't really get more absurd, it just kind of keeps going, like you said, the length it goes always... to should double check something or triple check something. It's just really funny, but that's just that's Nathan.
Yeah, there's
For You
some set in LA that really is a heightened form of meta. I don't know how better to describe it than that. Kevin, did you get to those episodes where he's back in LA briefly?
I don't remember. It's been a while.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't want to say too much for those who haven't seen it, but those LA episodes, or maybe it was one episode, was actually my favorite, I think, of besides the first episode, just because it was the purest form of the concept being as absurd as it can be. And that's the thing without spoiling anything. when Angel, you're saying, what word did you just use to describe like the lengths he goes to like triple check? Was it absurd? Might have been absurd. The absurdity isn't always like hysterical, laugh out loud, like, whoa, this is so crazy. Like some of it's like there's a surprising range of emotions throughout this show, which you wouldn't necessarily expect. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting experience. It's almost like watching some sort of like psychological study in real time. But I do wonder if they had to pivot the show, because they did at the peak of COVID. So I do wonder, to your point, Andrew, about like it would have been interesting or we thought like each episode would be its own problem to solve. As I was watching, I kept wondering, like, did they have to kind of adjust on the fly and sort of take this in a different direction than initially planned? Because like some of the stuff definitely seemed like, because there's a mix of real people and seemingly actors, and I couldn't help but wondering, just watching, like, did they have to pivot at some point, and was some of this sort of on the fly? And that question really was raised in the last episode, but I won't say anything beyond that. But yeah, so it would be interesting. They announced the season 2. I am curious if they continue down the like more overarching story approach that they took with season 1, or if they start to almost go into introducing more people with more rehearsals that have more individual personal issues, and if it kind of like goes more in a Nathan For You direction. Even though I realize Nathan For You also sort of started to build an overarching story as well, it was definitely lower key than what the rehearsal had. So yeah, those are my lingering questions. Recommend it. Yes, it's definitely worth watching. It might not be like the best TV you've seen, but it's definitely some of the most interesting TV you will probably see in a very long time. It's very like Andy Kaufman-esque in terms of what it does. So yeah. Kevin, anything you want to add about the rehearsal? You said it's been a while since you watched it, but
no, I just have to get around to watching it again. I'll probably just restart the entire thing.
Yeah, I mean, they're not.
Each episode's like 4 or 5 episodes. So
it's 6. I think it's 5 or 6, but they're like 30 to 40 minutes each. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my favorite scene is when they're in that Raising Cane's.
Yeah.
And there's a lady pretending to be like a nugget, and he's just staring at her like while he has that laptop strapped to his chest. It's so funny.
Yeah, yeah, that was one. There's a few moments that I like really like laugh out loud funny, and that was definitely one of them. Yeah.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah.
HBO's giving him money to do this.
What's crazy is their press release, like, and all this talk about them cutting costs and stuff. And to be fair, there's a difference between Warner Brothers, HBO, and HBO Max in terms of management and how the new overlords of Warner Brothers are interpreting each. But yeah, when they announced season 2 of the rehearsal, they're like, we have no idea what Nathan's gonna do with this, but have at it. But yeah, he's just like pouring their money down the drain, essentially. Not really down the drain. There's quality content coming out of it, but you know what I mean. Like they literally, the bar they built from
down
the
the drain
episode,
is a pretty specific thing to say.
No, it's quality. I mean, like from their perspective, like did he need to convince the crew to move the replica bar from New York to Portland? Like full on so rebuild it from scratch across the country. Like not really, but made for one gag in one episode. So they're like, okay. Like, yeah. The show definitely wasn't cheap.
Yeah, or maintaining a winter. Just pretty funny.
Yeah, that was pretty great too. Yeah. Or hiring all those various, I mean, not that there are a lot of actors, but hiring people like out, like doing casting calls out in like the boonies of Portland and stuff like that. Like, yeah, actually there's probably a lot of effort and money that went into this for something that seems so simple in premise.
Simple, but effective.
Yeah.
But, I mean, did you guys have anything else? Anything pop up in the last 2 weeks?
Nothing
No,
here.
I think that'll be it.
Much like Nathan Fielder's The Rehearsal, this episode, simple but effective.
Okay.
You okay?
I don't know what that noise was, but okay.
Yeah,
does that mean I have to
PM
do...
yet, so I'm still kind of neutral, so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, I guess that means I do closing notes, huh? Or do you want to do them, Kevin, as the host?
I don't have my closing notes up. So.
All right.
It kind of has to be you, Jason. Yeah.
Well, thank you for tuning in for the Balls episode of Random or Nintendo. You can find future episodes that may involve other shapes, on all the streaming podcast services. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Pandora, iHeartRadio, our YouTube channel. Fun fact about YouTube, actually, it was just 2 different studies just came out that the most podcast consumption actually happens on YouTube, not dedicated podcast apps. Even though Spotify is now bigger than Apple Podcasts and both of them have a huge market share, the bulk is YouTube, believe it or not. And YouTube's going to launch a podcast section as a result. But in the meantime, if you want to find us directly on YouTube, RandomNintendo.com is the channel name. You can also find us on Twitter at RandomNintendo to make sure you don't miss any happenings. We are individually on Twitter. I am JSR7. Angel is Wero, Weiro, and his best tweets come after 3 p.m. when he's peaked. And Kevin is KVN Gomi. I think that's it. So I guess, who wants a final word? It's up for grabs. Someone just shout something, and don't let it just be balls.
Balls.